Y'all, I cannot. I'm so excited to be on here talking to y'all. Let me go ahead and do the intro for those of you who are new here. And those of you who are usuals, come on, come on, come on. Hey y'all, it's Necey Dixon. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you are new here, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. Y'all, I haven't been on YouTube for 10 days and it's feeling like I ain't been on YouTube for like 2 damn months. So Happy New Year. I'm super excited to be talking to y'all today, even though I do wish that we had a little bit of Love and Marriage Huntsville in the mix, because y'all know how we usually do brunch. We usually like to do brunch where we do Love and Marriage Huntsville first, then we talk about Ready to Love, vice versa. But we just gonna talk about Ready to Love today. And I hope that y'all got into the thumbnail. I didn't upload it, but I hope y'all got into the thumbnail. It was literally just a picture of Phil and Shiloh. And my thoughts, you better call Tyrone. Shiloh, you better call Tyrone. Because I think we need to talk about manipulation. We need to talk about manipulation. We need to talk about who was wrong versus who was right and how things may have been handled differently. But we could talk for days on days on days about what somebody shoulda, coulda, woulda done. What I like to do over here is I always like to think about intent. And to me, Shiloh's intent was all the way effed up. It was all the way effed up. That's my opinion before we even get into it. But let me go ahead and say, hey, because I don't want to give y'all the whole review on the front end when we got a whole show to talk about. Let me fix my lighting. Y'all, all the other couples were like pretty boring. Give me a hot second. I need to fix my lighting. It's weird. But yeah, all the other couples, in my opinion, they were boring. They were boring. They weren't talking about nothing. Nothing. Okay? Hey, Alicia. Hey, Victoria. Hey, J Dub. Hey, Rachel. Kim Baby. Hey, Monique. Hey, y'all. So good to see y'all. J Dub, he already talking. He said Tyrone would lift Shiloh off her feet. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. She would have been making more of a case against Tyrone than what she's trying to do against Phil. But like I said, y'all, it has everything to do with intent. Now, another thing, housekeeping before we get into the review, excuse me. Y'all be sure to follow me on social media. That was like one outlet that I was still using because I wasn't on YouTube. Wasn't really on Twitter like that. But I definitely was still on Instagram. So y'all go ahead and follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Necey Dixon. TikTok too, because I be on there sometimes too, and we can keep up that way. I also appreciate those of you who have been sending me documentary recommendations because I want to start doing more documentary reviews on the channel. Somebody recommended the Kendrick Johnson case. I forgot the name of the documentary, but we're going to talk about that. Okay, so as far as the nonsense, let's go ahead and get into Ready to Love. All right, so y'all, the episode starts out, we in the ladies' lounge, or the men's lounge, whatever lounge y'all want to call this, because this is the same lounge that Tommy was in with the men. He said this is his little spot in DC that he likes to be at, and he better not catch nobody in his spot. I be feeling the same way, okay? It was a restaurant down here in Dallas called, or it still is, called Campazano. I'm going to put y'all on game because I don't really care about the restaurant like that anymore, but that was my spot. And if I seen somebody at Campazano, I was like, girl, you got that from me. Cut me a check. So I know what you're talking about, Tommy. So he's talking to the ladies, and the challenge that they have this week is for each of the ladies to pick whoever they feeling the most and have them be introduced to their families. So the final 5 ladies, let's go ahead and give y'all an idea. We have Sabrina, we have Aisha, we have Newman, and then we also have Sydney, and lastly, we have Shiloh. So those are the final 5 ladies, and they have to choose who they want to introduce to their families, friends, parents, etc., etc., etc. So we're going to go ahead and start. I'm not going to go in order of how everybody met, because to me, I'm like, let's just put all the juicy stuff together at the end and get all the extras out the way. And while we're talking about this, y'all, please do me a favor and rate how you felt about this episode. Scale to 1 to 10. 1 to 10, how did you feel about this episode? I was glad for the show to be coming back. I thought it was a pretty decent episode. But something is missing. You know how you know how you make a meal and you taste it at the end and you like, damn, this is good. It's gonna hold me over. But something is missing. Like, was I missing some slap your mama seasoning? Was you missing a little garlic, onion powder? It was missing a little bit of something, but it was still entertaining. So don't think I'm knocking the episode, y'all. J Dub says for him on a scale of 1 to 10, the episode was a 5. Alicia said a 2. A 2. Rachel says 5 to 6 out of 10, and Victoria says a 4. So all y'all is kind of like, we still a little bit unsatisfied over here. So, like I said, let's go ahead and get into the boring couples first. Walter is, granted the opportunity to meet Sabrina's cousin. Her cousin just had a baby, so they couldn't meet in person. And y'all, these meetups was all of like 2 damn seconds, literally 2 seconds. And I'm just like, why are you showing us these meetups if they ain't gonna be about nothing? Literally, all of these meetups could have been a damn Zoom call, could have been an email, better yet, if we aren't getting down to the nitty gritty. So Walter gets to meet her cousin Stephanie. And Stephanie, she didn't seem to be too much of a hard critic, but then again, like I told y'all, we didn't really see nothing going on. So, number one, let's talk about Walter's outfit. They show Walter walking down the street. He got on his glasses. He got on this suit. He walking down there looking like a damn professor, in my opinion. I was like, why is Walter looking like a professor? Like, all of his outfits so far and him talking about how he has been widowed kind of reminds me of Joel. But I feel like he's a much more put together Joel. I feel like when it came to Joel from last season, you could see right through the F-boy. The first episode, maybe not. First episode, he always talked about his wife and how he was widowed. And then later on, we could tell that Joel was an F-boy. Walter, I can't put my finger on it, but something is telling me that Sabrina is just who you're choosing by default, like she says, and that y'all won't be together for much long after the season ends. When it comes to reunion, I'm pretty sure y'all are going to choose each other. But what we're going to find out is that y'all may have went on a few dates after the show ended, but all in all, y'all probably ain't together like that. Y'all probably are not together like that. And I wonder if men go through their losses differently. So maybe in some way or form, they're emotionally unavailable to new women. Like, is that what happened with Joel? Even though Joel was divorced when his wife passed. I don't know. Something is missing, okay? Y'all, please like the video again. So, anyway, the main question that we get to see cousin Stephanie ask Walter is, what is it like dating, an older woman? Because typically Walter dates down. He dates younger women. And his answer to me was just it was fake warm, okay? You know how you try to be warm and charming? It was charming. It was one of those answers. And I always have to keep my eye out for a man, especially who is overly charming, who always likes to make the right jokes at the right timing. So Stephanie says, what is it like dating an older woman? And he says, well, she understands my pop culture references. I was like, Walter, answer the damn question. Answer the damn question. He was trying to be cute. And then he flips it and he gives a serious answer. And he says that he has to think about it. If his wife was still alive, she would be the same age as Sabrina is today. And Sabrina was quite impressed by the answer because she was like, oh, I never thought about that. And I think Stephanie was too. I ain't gonna lie. When he gave the answer and, gave the comparison of his wife, I was like, maybe he's really thought about that or thought about who he would date after his wife has passed. But even though he had the right answers to the right questions, something just still felt like it wasn't there for me. Okay. I think Walter is so charming that majority of people can't see through what's going on. The reason why I'm so skeptical, let me go ahead and explain why I'm so skeptical. Because if this is your first time joining or seeing the show, you probably like, what? I thought Walter was cool. I'm so skeptical because just last episode, I know it was a few weeks ago, him and Sabrina went on a date and he told Sabrina that it was her. He chooses her. Like that was his end all be all was Sabrina. But Sabrina's saying that after the retreat, you haven't been hitting her line like that. You haven't been hanging out with her like that. And the time that y'all do meet up is whenever the camera is around. So I'm kind of like, if she's end all be all and you want to take her seriously outside of the show, why is it that we only see this charm come on whenever the cameras are around? Who knows? Okay. I really don't know. But I don't think that Walter is into Sabrina as much as Sabrina is into him. The other thing I want to talk about that I did not get a picture of is this damn, I'm going to call it a stripper wig, okay? Sabrina had on a horrible ass wig towards the end of the episode. Not to say strippers have bad wigs, because some strippers, their wigs be laid. I'm calling it a stripper wig because it looked like she pulled it out of her retirement bag, because y'all know she's a retired stripper. The hair didn't even look human. The hair looked synthetic. It was platinum blonde, just like her platinum blonde shortcut. I was not here for the long wig. For those of you who watched the episode, I really wish I had a picture for y'all. But for those of y'all who watched the episode, was y'all here for the wig? She pulled that out of her stripper retirement bag. I was like, no ma'am. No ma'am. She pulled that wig off of Tyler Perry set. Y'all did not like it. Chelsea says, yeah, I hated the hair. J Dub says the wig was awful. M Burns. Oh, he's talking about Walter and the charisma. Definitely. Jay Antoinette. Love Sabrina, but that wig was made by Mattel. Girl. Say it again. When I tell y'all. I'm like, let me find out Tyler Perry got parts in this show. Because that's how you know Tyler Perry is involved in anything when you see people walking around with horrible ass wigs. Okay. So yeah. All in all, the final verdict from Cousin Sabrina was that Walter passes the vibe check. And I'm like, Sabrina, girl, have you been around enough black men to really, analyze and see if he really down for it? And Walter has a professionalism about him as well. So Cousin Sabrina, I don't know if you was the one. Sabrina, you probably should have bought them other friends who grilled Sean a couple episodes ago. You should have brought them other friends. But yeah, this was pretty damn boring. That part was pretty boring. I think we can move on to the next couple. Let's get into Aisha and Dante. Y'all, okay, we're on episode 11. And this is the part of the season where shit starts to get people just doing stuff just to do it, okay? For a lack of better words. It gets to a point every season where you get closer to the end, and rather than them genuinely wanting to come on there and make connections, they have a finish line to get to. So they start just, trying to be for anybody. They start trying to make their level C connection an A+ connection and say, well, let's just claim each other, even though y'all know y'all only level C, not level A. Like, people start doing that type of stuff once we get towards the end. Dante and Aisha, I have to say, they have the strongest and most genuine connection out of everybody on this show. I feel like they could actually be together after the show. I think it's a great pairing, being that Dante already has 3 kids. Aisha has her own kids. She don't want to have any more kids. Aisha currently co-parents with her one baby daddy. Dante, he co-parenting with 3 baby mamas. I'm still scratching my head, okay, y'all? I don't care what Dante says. I don't understand how a man can have 3 baby mamas, 3 children, and no issues. Like, I feel like we need to know more. It would only make sense if like your oldest kid was 18, the next one was 17, the next one was 15. Maybe the issues y'all had already outgrown at that point if your kids was damn near grown. But I need to know, how old are the kids? Do their ages stair step? Were you married to any of them? We don't know any of that. We just know what Dante says, which is that the relations are good. So I'm just like, okay. So y'all, Dante has the pleasure of meeting Aisha, her mom, and her brother. Her mom, her name is Beverly. So Dante brings roses for her mom, which was cute. But whenever they put the parallel meetup between Phil and Sydney's mom, Phil looks like the overachiever because Phil bought roses for both Sydney and her mom, whereas Dante only bought roses for the mom. But to me, I'm not really pressed on it because I'm not here for all the extra brownie points. Just get down to the real. Let's see. Jay Antoinette says she thinks he said that his oldest is in college. Okay, that would make sense. If you have like older kids and your relationship issues, y'all have already passed, But anyway, Dante brings roses for Miss Beverly. And little brother, he gets straight down to the business. Dante sits down, and I'm saying he gets straight down to the business because that's how much they were chopping and screwing the episodes. Like, I know good and well Dante didn't just sit down and the brother said, so three baby mothers, three mothers, three children, explain. Like, I just feel like we honestly had more time. You could have left Sabrina and Walter off this episode. And I would have loved to spend more time seeing real interactions, not chopped and screwed, not one question per day. So anyway, like I said, it looks like he gets down to the business and he asked him. And he asked him about the three kids and the three children's mothers. And pretty much, Dante says there's no issues, like I've been telling y'all. He says two of the mothers are already married and all the relations are platonic. There's nothing going on. So there should be no drama. And I'm like, that's good to hear. That's really good to hear, but it ain't no telling because we haven't been able to learn anything else. The other thing that I wish we would have saw, y'all remember it was probably like 3 episodes ago where the women were introduced to the exes of the men. Dante, you had 3 exes that you probably communicate with on a weekly basis about your children. And you didn't bring neither one of these 3 exes for us to meet on this show. Like, damn, not even the one that's single. I wish we would have saw one of your exes. That's another reason why I'm like, I don't know. But all in all, y'all, it seemed like it was a good date, pretty much, or a good first meeting and impression with her family. They then ask him, like, how serious is he about Aisha? He says, is it a season or a lifetime or something of that nature? And Dante ends up saying that he thinks his connection with Aisha is a lifetime. And her mom was like, okay, well, you don't think you're moving too fast? And he said, no, I think we should just go with the way that we both feel as long as we're on the same page. And I don't think Dante gave the wrong answer at all. It seems like they both want the same thing. And I feel like out of majority of people on this show, I feel like both of them genuinely want a connection with somebody. Whereas you see people like Frank. Frank comes on the show. Frank is very networky. Okay. I don't know that Frank came on this show genuinely wanting a wife. I feel like Frank came on the show and was like, if I get a wife, cool. If I don't, more exposure for my business. As so Walter, because people are saying that he's an actor. It's so many people who come on the show with other intentions and they're like, if I get a relationship, cool. If I don't, I don't. I don't think that we have seen that with Aisha and Dante. It seems like they genuinely wanted to come on the show to date. And I think that's why they have a connection towards the end. I think it's real easy whenever you find 2 people who have similar goals. They both don't want to have no more kids. They both just want to vibe with somebody. And that's why it was easy for Dante to fall back on Aisha. JW killing me. He said ready for exposure. That's exactly what the hell they was doing. They was ready for exposure. Hey, Ramel, I saw you pop in here. Ayana says, why would 3 mothers have none of them lasted? Good question. And that's what I'm saying. Like, how old are the children? Jay Antoinette, she told us earlier that she thinks one of the children are in college. So did it not work out because you were really young? Were you like 17, 18, 19 when you had all these kids? So many pieces of the puzzle that are super duper missing, in my opinion. Laverne says that they don't believe that Dante really likes Aisha. That's interesting. I feel like he does. I feel like Dante does like Aisha because he didn't have to date Aisha. He already had a connection with Zadia. So if he just wanted to make it to the end, he could have just put up with Zadia and her ugly ass attitude. But it was something about Aisha, I think, where they actually connected. Not to mention, y'all, we ain't gonna play like I don't think that they already having sex. Okay, ain't none of my business. But I think they smashing. I think they knocking boots. Okay, I'm sure that helps. I'm sure that helps because the way she tooted and booted on that massage table. Say no more. Thank you so much, Ravine. But yeah, the way she was tooting and booted, yeah. I don't need no other information. So yeah, that was all with the date with Dante and Aisha's family. They both seem to really like him. Even the brother said that he seemed level-headed. And I know good and well the family has asked the questions that I'm asking now. I'm sure they got more details about what his relationships are with the kids and the baby mothers. But if they're satisfied, I'm satisfied. So let's move on to next. Newman. Now, y'all, I really liked Newman at the beginning. I still like her now. I still like Newman. However, I feel like Newman has the personality of females who always get played. Always get played. I feel like a red flag went up for me in that second or third episode when she was actually paying that clown. Let me pull this clown emoji up because I ain't used it in a minute. First clown of the year. When Newman was actually paying that clown attention. And when I'm talking about the clown, I'm talking about Corey. When Newman gave Corey a chance, that's when a red flag went up in my head and I was like, she's a pick-me. Oh, she's naive. Oh, she just wants to believe the best because she really wants somebody. Like, that's when I knew someone right, Newman. You a beautiful girl. You really sweet. You seem to have your stuff together, but you just can't find the right dude. And I think that's because you lack judgment when it comes to some things. Like, especially with Corey. It seems like you lack a lot of judgment and you end up kissing a lot of frogs. I hate kissing frogs. And when I say kissing frogs, I mean just dating, and not being selective. And I feel like I see that with her. So the thing with Newman on this date to me, y'all, she brings Frank to meet her father, her uncle, and her older sister. Now, keep in mind, Newman is, I think she's Cameroon. I'm not sure. She's from West Africa. And Frank is from West Africa as well, but he's from Ghana. So they have that in common. They're both African. And this comment just distracted me. Latrice said, can we talk about Newman's bra showing the whole scene? You on TV, get a strapless, girl. I didn't even notice the bra. But yes, no, your hair ain't covering bra straps in 2022. We know that. I didn't. Chelsea says, yeah, I like her, but she does give naive, like she just want to be loved so bad. Yes. And I'm just like, Newman, do better. Do better. You should know this. So anyway, they have the commonality that they are both African. And pretty much the first question that Frank gets whenever he's introduced to Newman's family, her father is really the one with the good questions, in my opinion. The father says, are you ready, like seriously ready for a relationship? And he says, yes. Like, it's never been a time in his life where he didn't think that he didn't want a wife. And then the uncle, he come ready. The uncle says, Is she the only one? Like, I see that y'all have sparks, but is she the only one? Frank says, oh, I'm gonna take a sip of this drink. Frank, ain't nothing funny about that, okay? Ain't nothing funny about that to where you need to take a sip of a drink. If I was her sister, I would have sat there like, and we're done. You're done. Log off for me, baby. You would have been canceled if you would have said sip drink. But let me get into why I felt like Newman sounded like a clown. Okay, it was right around this response. So once he takes a sip of his drink, he then explains that he is considering one other young lady. He knows he has a difficult decision to make, but it's all a part of the process. Then we go to the confessional. And that's where Newman is saying, it's just a part of the process. It's all a part of the process. They don't understand. And it's like, Newman, you don't understand. In my opinion, I feel like respectfully, Frank should have decided who it was that he was most interested in before he started meeting families. If I know I'm not into you like that, why am I wasting my time meeting your father? Okay. And then it's a whole nother thing. Cause I know the way my parents are, I can't say this for all Black people. The way my parents is, don't bring nobody around unless they like serious. I feel like most parents are like that. If you just going on dates, if you just, going to the movies every now and then, don't bring them around. Don't bring nobody around until you have been dating for months, until you have a clear understanding of who this person is, right? So it's a whole nother level whenever you bring in African culture. Okay. You're meeting and sitting down with her father, like, yes, I'm interested in this woman. I'm interested in your daughter. Don't say nothing unless this is serious, but there's one other lady. I do understand it's 100% a part of the show. However, Frank could have decided then and there what he wanted to do so you wouldn't be meeting everybody and their uncles and their sisters and their fathers and mothers and everything else. Because then you will be in these awkward situations and you would have to sit here and sip a drink whenever somebody says to you, is she the only one? Because he had to do this not once, but twice. Because keep in mind, y'all, he ends up meeting Sydney's sister. So I'm just like, come on, like, do better. And Newman, you really trying to cape for this dude, trying to explain to your family that this is a part of the process. Yes, we understand, Newman. It's a part of the process to date other people. However, this man should know very well into the process who it is he's prioritizing, and then he should act upon that. You shouldn't be meeting everybody's family, okay? So Newman, stop trying to cape for this man. And then Frank, it's just a part of the process. So then the uncle is soothed over like, oh, okay, it's just a part of the process on the show. Oh, okay, cool. The sister and the daddy ain't having it. They like, process my ass, okay? So now let's move on to, I think it's the final couple before we get into the nonsense. Yeah. It's the final couple before we get into the nonsense, okay? So now, y'all, we get introduced to Sydney. I'm not surprised at all that Sydney has made it this long. Remember, y'all, Sydney was brought on to the show probably on episode like 4 or 5 as like just a little surprise, sprinkle dingle, here goes some drama. Her and Sean. Sean was sent home pretty quick. It was nothing about the man that was given. Y'all would have had to bring somebody on there that was like fine to be ruining connections. Sydney is a pretty girl. Sydney is, from what we've seen on this show, cookie cutter AF. Okay, that's no disrespect to Sydney. She's cute. She got the eyelashes. She looked like a bottle girl, okay? She looks like the type of girl that majority of these dudes would try to pull in a club. That's enough. That's enough. So I'm not surprised that she has made it this long. Now, this entire time, she's been coasting. Like I said, Sydney is one of them who has, she's ready for exposure. Shout out to J-Dub. Sydney is ready for exposure because she says, like similar to Phil, they both are a part of the nightlife. Phil is a part of the nightlife because he owns a cocktail bar or something like that. Sydney keeps saying something about a nightlife. I don't know what it is she does in the nightlife. That's why I said I think she's a bottle girl. But if you go to her Instagram, she also has her own boutique. So that's why she calls herself a business owner. So these two are ready for exposure, right? So let's get into the actual dates. Phil is the first person to actually meet Sydney's family. Sydney decides to introduce Phil to her mom and her dad. Hey, Sam J. Happy New Year, y'all. But yeah, she decides to introduce Phil to her mom and her stepdad. Her mom is very vocal. Her mama is so extra, and it's in a cute way. She got two little bitty dogs. She drinking her champagne. The stepdaddy pretty much there on mute. I'm like, stepdaddy, you need to be talking way more. You need to be asking them questions. But I see like Sydney's parents probably have a relationship of balance where her mama does the most and her stepdaddy just chills. So as Phil is getting ready to go on this meetup with her family, we see Phil in his confessional and he starts speaking on Shiloh because we know that Phil's other connection is Shiloh. Phil says that it's throwing him off that Shiloh is choosing him as her number one. And, he's just not there yet. And I don't blame you, Phil. I feel like it's throwing you off because y'all probably have been talking, but it's like, damn, I like you, you like me, but I didn't think we was at number one level yet. And I told y'all how the people do when they come on this show. They try to take a level C relationship to a level A relationship, and that's what Shiloh tried to do, hoping that Phil would reciprocate when they were on the trip, and she just didn't do it yet. He didn't do it. So anyway, he's not there yet with Shiloh. He says it's still a very much open field. The game is still on, and he's very much still interested in Sydney. So he brings roses for Sydney and also Sydney's mom. I'm like, cute, but y'all know y'all got to pay attention to the charming type dudes, like I told y'all. So I'm like, that was nice. Sydney's mom, she sits down and she's asking him, so do you save money? And Shiloh is not Shiloh, Sydney is on the defense, like, Mom, don't ask, oh, Mom, why are you doing that? And to me, I was like, no, Sydney, pipe down. Because she's asking the questions that you need to know the answers to. Do you got a savings account? Do you have any kids that you owe child support to? Are your funds being, split and sent different directions? Those are questions we need to know the answers to, Sydney. I was not mad at your mama for asking that question at all. I was like, it's perfectly fine. So then her mom pretty much ends up saying that Sydney has been through a lot in her relationships. And, at the age that Sydney is, her mom really just wants her to find somebody, but only if it's genuine. So then Sydney starts crying. Apparently, I'm thinking it's about, how her other relationships didn't work out. We don't really know what the tea is there. But then her mom says, if you a playboy, keep moving. Leave her alone if you're a playboy. And when she said that, I was like, I think you're onto something, because I feel like Phil is a playboy. Phil is a playboy, in my opinion. I feel like he's one of those Insecure reference. Y'all remember whenever Tasha told Lawrence, you really a fuckboy who thinks that he's a good guy. That's what I get with Phil, where you're not intentionally trying to hurt people in their feelings. You just lack the ability to be decisive. And because of that, you end up playing people in the process. And that's what I get with Phil. So for that reason, I do think that Phil and Sydney are going to choose each other at the end of this. However, are they going to be together? Absolutely not. They're going to be another couple that when we get to the reunion, it's going to be like, oh, we dated. We went to the movies once or twice. We will go to the club. And then after that, it just kind of fizzled out. He stopped hitting my line. It's going to be something just like that. They're not going to be together like that. And I loved when she said that. M. Burns says, yep, I think her mom saw it. J. Dub says, Mama Sydney says, don't mess with mine. Tasha says, Phil is giving Lawrence. Yes. When he was playing the girl at the bank. When you thought that he thought he was a good guy, but you end up hurting people in the process. You think you're a good guy, Phil, but you need to be a little bit more decisive. Glamour Girl says, I love when her mama said, don't mess with mine. Yep. And then Ravine says, nah, Sydney not with Phil now. Okay. I didn't think she would be. I didn't think she would be. They might choose each other, but is they together? No. At least Sydney got some exposure for her little Instagram boutique. Because I went to her Instagram trying to figure out what she did for work. Okay. So verdict. Sydney's mom says that she likes Phil. She feels like he's a nice, calm guy, and it's a good balance because Sydney like does the most. And all in all, she just says she likes him. That's pretty much it. But I don't think that Sydney's mom is in love with him. I think Sydney's mom is like, he's cool, but I'm gonna keep my eyes open. And that's where Sydney should be at as well. So now in this bottom picture, one of the things I thought was interesting, I feel like we're starting to see a shift. I feel like Sydney is starting to feel more than Frank. And that's only because her and Frank ain't never really had no deep connection to begin with. Sydney has been on this show trying to, hang on to any connection. Sydney, you knew you and Phil's connection wasn't deep like that from jump. All you and Frank kept talking about was how y'all had mutual friends. Y'all both was a part of the nightlife in pretty much very networky terms. Like you never said you liked his smile. You never said he, made you feel this type of way. The only thing Sydney and Frank talked about episode after episode after episode was their connection to the nightlife. So this was nothing but a networking opportunity for you and Frank both. You held on to that until it felt like you had a real connection. So now you're ready to let Frank go and move on to Phil. So pay attention that instead of having Frank meet her parents, she had Phil meet her parents. And then Frank ended up meeting the sister. Yes, Tasha. She says if they say she's a female version of Frank, I'm going to scream. No, for real. Because y'all literally have nothing else to say. Nothing else to say. If they say, oh, hey, she's a female version of me. That's the only other connection you got? Yeah. So anyway, let's talk about Frank meeting up with Sydney's sister, Sarah. And right off bat, you see Sydney talking to her sister, and she's talking about Frank before he enters the room. And she's saying that she's a little bit unsure about Frank, so she needs her sister to drill him. Then we see Frank in his confessional, and in Frank's confessional, he's saying that if it's based off physical connection, it's Sydney all the way. No duh. Like I told y'all, Sydney looks like one of those girls that the dudes will talk to at the end of the night in the club. Okay, you've been peeping, you've been sending drinks to her table. That's the type of girl you want to talk to. She look good, the body is in. Okay, just catalog. She checks boxes. Okay, and I think Frank also knows that his other option is Newman, and Newman claims that she wants to save herself for marriage. So I think Frank, the playboy in Frank, obviously wants to choose Sydney. But long term, his African culture, him knowing that he needs a wife, he sees that in Newman, even though neither one of them connections is gonna work. So anyway, the sister, straight off, she says, are you dating other women? And he says, technically, yes, but I'm here to talk about Sydney. He's here with some charming answer. We're here to talk about Sydney, and I'm going to have to come to terms that eventually I'm going to have to make a decision, and I just really don't want to let you go. Y'all, let me tell y'all, this whole connection, this whole love quadruple thing, and when I say quadruple, I think so many of the castmates' decisions ultimately lie in Sydney's hands. And y'all gonna be like, what, Sydney? No, it does, okay? Because Sydney has the option of Phil or Frank. Phil has the option of Shiloh. I'm saying that Phil's option is Shiloh because his ultimate goal is Sydney, but he doesn't really have a clue on what Sydney's decision is. Now, on the other finger, we have Sydney and Frank. Frank's option is Newman. He knows that he always got her in the back pocket, but his ultimate goal in some way, shape, or form would be Sydney. So what we're seeing is Phil, both, Phil and Frank, both kind of wanting Sydney to come to a decision, where we see Newman try to pull that, okay, you're my number one, to Frank, and Frank says, I'm still deciding. And then we see Shiloh try to pull the same stunt to Phil. Shiloh did the same thing to Phil on the retreat and was like, I'm choosing you. That's one thing they always do. When the women want to answer, no matter if your relationship with this guy ain't even on 100%, only even if it's 50% loaded, you're going to tell this dude, just choose me and we can load the other 50% once the show ends. That's what they tried to do. It didn't work with Phil and it didn't work with Frank because they both are waiting on Sydney. So KA says Kyra walked so Sydney could run. She did. Sydney determines a lot of these relationships on the cast, okay? I don't care what y'all say, but she actually has a lot of pull when it comes down to it. So anyway, Sydney is the answer. Newman is an option. Shiloh is an option. Now, back to Frank in this date. Meeting with Sydney's sister. Like I told y'all, he says, I just don't want to lose you. And that was his way of saying, I want you, but I don't know if you want me. When he says, I don't want to lose you, that wasn't him saying, I'm choosing somebody over you. It was saying, we might not be together, but I want to see what you have to say in return. And she neither denied or confirmed the way he was feeling. She didn't do anything. She was just like, okay. So the overall verdict from Sydney's sister was that Frank was just giving friend vibes. It was nothing there, okay? Like many of the relationships that we've seen with Sydney, there's nothing there. Honestly, I don't even think there's anything there with Phil. The other thing that I wanted to call out is petty. It's not even really worth calling out. After Phil finished the date meeting Sydney's parents, Sydney walks him out into the hallway. And I was absolutely irritated that as soon as Sydney walked out of that apartment, she took her jacket off so Phil could get a glimpse of her body better. And then when she came back into the apartment, she put the jacket back on. And I feel like I told y'all last episode, there's always a point in the season where you will see why somebody is on this show. Sydney, I think she knows that her sexuality is one of her strongest things to offer. Why is it that as soon as you left the apartment with your parents, you took the jacket off so he could get a look, get a feel? He could have got a look and a feel under the jacket, and then you put the jacket back on. It was petty, but I was just like, girl, why? That's why we haven't heard you really have any deep conversations. Everything has just been And now I see why Naeem is like, oh, just based off Sydney's voice, I can't date her. Everything with Sydney is just very cutesy. Be cute. Be what men like. Like, that's the vibe that I'm getting with Sydney. Don't go against the grain. Be cute. Just be what he likes. And that's what I felt like I was getting with Sydney. And y'all let me know if it was just me, okay? Because I definitely noticed that jacket come off, and then she put it back on, and I was like, but why? Nana says, I noticed that as well with the blazers. What was that? Literally, what was that? I'm like, come on. Mari says, I thought I was the only one who noticed that. No, for real, Marie. I'm like, okay. So now, y'all, it's time to get into the drama, okay? But before we get into the drama, y'all already know the drill. Y'all got to do me a favor and like this video. All right, so let's get into the mess, okay? This is what the y'all click the video for, more than likely, if you're new here. And if you're new here, y'all be sure to like, subscribe, follow me on social media and all that good stuff. But this is probably why you click the video. Let's talk about Phil and Shiloh. So let's explain the backstory. We find out that Phil and Shiloh have gotten into an argument the night before at the club, right? So the next morning, they decide to meet up with Tommy. Y'all, look at Tommy's face. Look at Tommy's face. Tommy, y'all got me here for what? Tommy is like, I know y'all on some bullshit. What is we here for? Okay? Tommy like, this supposed to be my day off from filming. Me and my wife supposed to be going out to eat, doing something good, but nah, y'all calling me, y'all got me on call for some bullshit. That's what Tommy is looking like in this picture. And so I'm just like, come on. Tasha, thank you for the super chat. She says, Will Packer production must do better with casting. They keep picking people that want to be seen. Actors, models, entrepreneurs is really annoying. Girl, say it again, okay? They need to do better, but they focus on trying to get people on the show that's like extremely good looking, and they choose these really hot cities, okay? Like Houston. It was no way they was gonna come to Houston and not run into a gang of party promoters. No way they was gonna come to DMV and not run into people trying to, be actors and actresses and be party promoters. These are cities that have a good population of Black people. Like when they started in Atlanta, I feel like it's pretty hard to avoid in cities like that. Sam, I click for you. Thank you, girl. Hashtag Necey Hive. So yeah, Tommy was over it. Okay. So like I said, the night before, they're meeting with Tommy because they got into an argument at a bar club. In my mind, when I was imagining all the events, I was thinking they was like in a section in the club. Okay. And my first thought is not Shiloh arguing, not Miss Love and Light, not Miss Intimacy Coach, not Miss, yoga. I love physical touch, not Love and Light Shiloh. Whenever I saw Shiloh walk into this scene, I was like, oh shit, this literally had to happen the night before because Shiloh, beautiful girl, beautiful girl. But if it was ever an episode where I was like, ain't no way you 33, it was this episode. It was this episode when she was sitting on that couch. She looked like, truth is, I'm tired. I'm all stressed out. That's what Shiloh was looking like. Shiloh was looking tired. She was looking stressed out. But yes, not Miss Shiloh arguing. So Tommy ends up asking Phil, do you want to tell me what happened? Phil says, we just got into an argument at the bar. He says, Shiloh, do you want to expand? Shiloh then expands and she says, what happened was they were hanging out at the bar at night. And y'all pay attention, hanging out at the bar at night, okay? She got a little liquid courage in her. She claims that she was drinking. Phil claims he only took one shot. And that's whenever she started thinking about what happened on the retreat. Now, I told y'all a few episodes, at the retreat, she tried to put this man in a corner. She tried to cuff him. She tried to cuff him down at the retreat by saying, you're my number one. He didn't reciprocate that energy. He only kissed her on the lips. So she felt like she didn't have a clear answer of where his head was at, right? So she starts thinking. She starts getting a little bit more upset about not really knowing where his decision was. So she get that liquid courage in her, like I told y'all, and she starts asking him about it at the club. And instead of him being 100% transparent, he's saying, I got you, I got you, I got you. And this is what I'm talking about. Phil is a fuckboy who thinks that he's really a good guy. But in my opinion, Shiloh, you already had the answer that you knew you needed. You knew what the answer was when you left the retreat and he kissed you instead of telling you that he felt the same way and that the feelings were mutual. You knew the answer. So it was just dumb to me that y'all would have alcohol in the mix and that you would be hanging out with this man at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning if y'all weren't smashing. That's another thing, y'all. In my opinion, I think the only reason why Shiloh is so revved up is because, think back, y'all. Let's go back to whenever Phil and Shiloh first ever made their connection. They first ever made their connection on that yoga date. And that's when she was like, yeah, I love physical touch. And that's when they were touching on each other and she was giving a little tease. In my opinion, they've been smashing, okay? That's the only reason why you're so pressed on this man making the decision right now. Even though you already know the answer that he's going to give you, you're so pressed because you probably have been sleeping with this man. That's my opinion, not fact, okay? So anyway, like I was saying, they get into an argument at the bar in front of everybody. They end up leaving the bar and Phil is ready to go home. Shiloh has a temper tantrum. She ends up walking away down an alley at 5 o'clock in the morning. And this is where Tommy says, "What? Y'all should have had y'all asses at home," because he knew that this was some nonsense. He knew this was some shenanigans on both parts. Okay. And I'm going to say it rooted from Phil not being 100% honest. But in my opinion, I'm like, Shiloh, what did you expect to come from this? He wasn't being transparent with you before. You knew what the answer was. I don't know what you expected to come from this. So I feel like Tommy knew that it was some nonsense. Shiloh starts walking down a random alley of DC at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. Phil, he then says that he senses that she's in danger, because why would you be, a single female walking down the streets at night and anything can happen to you? So what he does is he picks her up and tries to put her back in the car. Okay. This is where Phil, I understand where you were coming from, Phil. Your intent was to protect her. Okay. Your intent was to protect her. Because I know, y'all, let's be real. If Shiloh had walked away and something happened to her, Phil would have been responsible for her well-being because he's a man. Okay. But it's interesting because Phil also seemed to be the aggressor, or he also seemed to be the threat because he's a man. So Phil decided to pick one of two options. Do I want to pick this girl up physically against her will and bring her to safety? Or do I want to risk my spirit not sitting right if something happened to her? So I understand where that comes from. But when you deal with people like Shiloh, you did the wrong thing, Phil. Because let's talk about manipulation. That's the title of the video. Shiloh then explains to Tommy that she has gone through things in her life. She says that she went through emotional and verbal abuse that he wasn't sure about, or he didn't know anything about, and that it put her in a place because he doesn't know what it feels like to basically not be free or be against your will. Now, let me make this very clear. Shiloh probably did go through something, okay? I'm not discounting her trauma in any way. But Miss Love and Light, it doesn't seem like you've done the work that you needed to do to make sure that your trauma is healed. And what's even more unhealthy to me is that you're using your trauma to manipulate the situation and to make it seem like Phil came off as a threat to you. So then Tommy basically says, y'all need to talk, y'all need to work it out, and we'll see what goes on from there, right? So that's all we get from this scene with Tommy, Shiloh, and Phil. They both don't even want to look at each other. They're both obviously embarrassed, okay? All that liquor getting involved. Shiloh, in my opinion, is using her trauma to manipulate the situation. You're trying to make this man a threat without calling him a threat because you know that he was not trying to physically harm you. For number two, any woman who's actually been through something, your spidey senses will go off and say, do I get in the car with this man who's made me upset, but I know he won't physically harm me? Or do I walk down the alley at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning and, potentially let society harm me? Your spidey senses then go off. I'm like, girl, it doesn't work for me. For me, it seems like you were just upset that he didn't choose you. You knew he didn't choose you when it was time for the retreat. So I don't know why you continue to go out and hang out with this man at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. You were even more pissed. And I'm telling you, I think she's more pissed because she's probably laying up with this man. Probably. So I don't like how she's trying to manipulate the situation. So we move on from this to finally we see the ladies' lounge. We're going to get back to Shiloh and Phil in a second. So we go to the ladies' lounge. All the women are talking about how well their dates went. Newman was capping, in my opinion, talking about how amazing the date was with Frank. Because to me, I feel like Frank scored a B- with her family. But, she wanted to tell everybody it went well. Now, Shiloh then explains to all of the other women what happened with Phil. But I feel like she explained it in an extremely responsible way. She tells everyone, he wasn't trying to hurt me physically. I just didn't like that he grabbed me, which is extremely fair. And that's when Tommy says, I appreciate you telling everybody that he wasn't physically trying to harm you. So then Sydney is taken back, and Sydney says, do you mind if I talk to Phil about this? Because this doesn't seem like it's a part of Phil's character, and that was not right. So she says, yeah, go ahead and talk to Phil about it, right? So next, y'all, let's get back to the nonsense. Shiloh. Number one, let's talk about this outfit. Let's talk about the makeup. Let's talk about the hair. Shiloh is giving a woman scorned. Okay? Whenever, y'all know what's the number one thing people say that a woman do when she about to change her life? She changed her hair. And then you go and you buy a freakum dress. Shiloh showed up in her freakum dress. She put her hair in a bun this time. And she actually wore makeup, and she was looking a little bit closer to 33. So she does this. And just by her showing up, looking good, trying to look sexy with the cleavage out, lets me know that you and this man was probably smashing. This man pissed you off. You showed up to have this closure date with him so he could look at you and you could be like, you ain't never hitting this again. That's what she was doing. Facts. That's exactly what she was doing. Yes, J-Dub said revenge look. You could have all this. Thank you so much, Tiffany, for the hair compliment. But yeah, she was like, you could have had all this. She's looking closer to 33 this time. And I'm like, girl, intent. Back to that word intent. We can all say Phil shouldn't have touched her. She shouldn't have done this. She shouldn't have done that. But let's be real. Phil's intent was never to physically harm her, never emotionally harm her, anything of that sort. Shiloh's intent was to have a temper tantrum because that man didn't choose you. And let's be real, you also wanted him to walk down the alley after you. So was he a threat or was he not? Okay, so now they sitting down, and this is the closure date. And she says, I'm really hurt. I'm angry. I'm triggered. You don't understand where I'm coming from. And I'm just like, I hate when people use their trauma to manipulate. Please don't. J-Dub, you're right. J-Dub says you can still go to jail with good intentions. You can, absolutely. And this is also why I said that the only thing Phil did wrong was chase her, because when you're dealing with people like Shiloh, who will use their trauma to manipulate the situation, you never know where the situation could go. You never know. So yes, I understand where you're coming from when it comes to going to jail with good intentions, but this is how I can decipher who I feel like is more wrong. And I feel like that's Shiloh, because she never had good intentions when it came to this situation. She was mad and she was trying to do a get back. So now, next, Phil says he felt like he had to protect her. Now, both share a little bit of responsibility, okay? It wasn't Phil's job to decide what was best for Shiloh in that moment. Ultimately, if something happened to her, he would have had to live with that. And I guess everybody would have been like, well, at least he didn't touch her. Well, at least he didn't grab her. No, y'all wouldn't have. Y'all would have been like, what type of man does that? So anyway, Phil says, do you feel like I tried to hurt you? And she says, yes, emotionally. Girl, if you don't get the fuck out of my face. Girl, if you don't get out of my face. You just sat there and told everybody that you didn't think he was trying to hurt you in the ladies' lounge. Now that you're pissed off again, you're saying to him, yes, you tried to hurt me, but emotionally. What? This entire time, Shiloh, you've been arguing that what set you off was the physical part of it. What set you off was the fact that he picked you up. That's fair. Nobody can discount your trauma. Nobody, okay? You've been arguing the physical part of it. But now that you've told us that he was not trying to physically harm you, what are we still talking for? We still talking because you're mad that he didn't choose you. You're mad that he didn't give you the answer that you wanted. And I just feel like that's dangerous as hell whenever people try to use their trauma to manipulate. Because I'm like, what is going on? What is going on? Okay. And I'm not saying all this to make it seem like Phil is just the greatest guy. Because I told y'all earlier in this review, I think that he's a fuckboy who thinks he's a good guy. Phil could have been honest. But the fact that you're using your trauma to manipulate is extremely dangerous. Okay. And people need to be aware of whenever people move like this. So Shiloh, then, that's the end of the date with Phil and Shiloh. Okay. And in my opinion, Shiloh was trying to beat the boot. You knew the boot was coming. You tried to beat the boot because you knew that he ultimately would have chosen Sydney over you. You knew the boot was coming. Very similar to the way that we saw Newman try to beat the boot when it came to Walter. Walter, she knew his number one was Sabrina from jump. She decided to throw a hissy fit at the pool that day. And that was her trying to beat the boot. Now we see Shiloh doing it. But her way of trying to leave was to try to make it seem like she had no other option but to leave and Phil was the bad guy. No, you were too prideful to hear you are not ready to love. So you wanted to bring up trauma and all this smoking gas and everything else. So that way we would all be, I guess, distracted from what the real reason was why you're really upset. And it's because you just weren't the one for him. So now, y'all, Shiloh ends up meeting up with Tommy. And she ain't got the freaking dress on, y'all. She got her hair back down like normal. She got the tacky outfit. I ain't gonna hold back the see-through outfit with the blue pants. And she's not giving sexy the same way she was giving sexy with Phil. You could have had all this. She wasn't giving it. And she tells Tommy that, you know, she's over the process and that he hurt her emotionally, even though this entire argument started off as a physical thing. Okay. And y'all, like I said, she's just manipulating the situation. So that was all we had for this episode of Ready to Love. And I'm like, Shiloh, you thought that you was going to go out in a way that looked much better. I think Shiloh thought that she was going to go out by making Phil look like the bad guy. But girl, it would have been a better look for you if you would have just allowed this man to sit you down and he would have had to be forced to say, you are not ready to love. I just feel like that would have been much better. Okay. Let me read some of these comments. Okay. Let's see what y'all was thinking about Shiloh. They said the absolute girl bye with the emotional hurt. And then somebody says, so if the cop shot him for following her in the alley, that's another thing. There's so many situations that could have happened. There's so many things. It's like Phil was a threat because he was a man, but Phil also felt the need to protect because he's a man. It's just so many things that I don't think it was a solution to this situation. And I feel like all of this got blown out of proportion and it turned into a chaotic situation because she was having a temper tantrum. But no, you're Miss Love and Light, right? I'm like, come on. Seriously says that emotionally statement had me so annoyed. Absolutely. Everybody, that was annoying. J-Dub says, I think Shiloh was saying Phil was demonstrating who had the power. Ooh, that is probably another reason why she was so triggered. Because she's waiting on this man to choose her and he never does. He never does while you were probably being physical with this man under the sheets. So I know that's another reason why you real mad. Okay. Ralph says Shiloh could have got them both hurt going down that back alley. Facts. Okay. And that's why I'm like, girl, you doing too much. Keisha says Phil dodged the bullet. Facts. Exactly. Don't never let nobody, people really try to, there's always situations where if you pin somebody and say, you're wrong for this, there are certain people who will try to manipulate you into thinking like, but no, this happened to me. But no, when I was 7 years old, my mama gave me a perm and my hair is supposed to be long, but now short like this. Come on. Stop bringing up all the extra trauma and stuff like that. We are literally talking about 1, 2, and 3. You ain't got to talk to me about number 500 and everything else. I'm like, come on. Cali girl. Says, so Shiloh can go through the process with Tyrone, but Phil can't go through the process with her. She's dangerous when upset about not getting her way. Absolutely. You better call Tyrone. You better call Tyrone. Okay. But what we do know about Tyrone, he would have picked your ass up off the ground, just like J-Dub said. Tyrone would have picked you up and threw you over his shoulders for sure. The math ain't math that says season of self-elimination. I feel you on that. Yep, y'all be sure to like the video. Rosemary says she wrong for putting Phil in that situation. I have 10 brothers, 2 sons. Don't put them in that situation. And Courtney was there. Oh, interesting. I didn't know Courtney was there. Ooh la la says these love and light people tend to be the most emotionally fragile. Shiloh should not have been on this show. And y'all, honestly, Maxine says she's toxic. I know because I'm toxic. At least you know that, okay? But that's the thing. Y'all pay attention to how these people introduce themselves on the show, because all in all, towards the end, they always end up showing their ass, and you always end up finding out why they're single and can never find anybody. Because all before long, I was like, Shiloh, she's such a nice girl. Shiloh, love and light. I thought Shiloh was just, but a lot of people do those things to try to hold or hide the emotional trauma that they've been through. I'm not discounting her trauma. I am saying that she's using her trauma to manipulate, but a lot of people try to backtrack and, hide stuff. Just as like Camille. Camille, she came on the show claiming that she wasn't going to have sex before marriage, which a lot of people do. A lot of people do that. I'm not saying it's wrong. However, when you see these women who get to there's always a surge of women who get to 30 years old. And if they haven't found a husband by the time they turn 30, then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I'm going to be celibate. Why is that your response? Is it a trauma response to your previous 15 relationships not working and you feeling like you need to find self-worth? Is that your response? Shiloh, why is your trauma response love and light? We should have picked up on that much, much earlier. Okay? Sam, the best thing Phil never had. Erica Taylor says there's a reason most of these people are single and not ready to love. Uplifted Now says Courtney was there to drive her home. Phil was just trying to get her into the car. Oh, girl, you full of it. Y'all, I cannot wait until this reunion. Hopefully everybody comes and they explain something. We'll probably hear about relationships that we didn't even know about. But all in all, y'all, I thought that this was a good conversation to have, even though the episode wasn't just amazing. I thought it was a really good conversation to have. So, yeah, I can't wait to see the reunion with y'all. Y'all, we are back into business, back into 2022. So the reviews are back. I think Portia's Family Reunion is coming on tonight. I plan on reviewing that. Married at First Sight, y'all. For those of y'all who like my Married at First Sight reviews, that's coming back on Wednesday. So my reviews are going to start back for that. And then it's a new show on OWN coming out on Friday, and it's about Black women in real estate. I cannot remember the name of the show, but I'm definitely going to give that a watch. If y'all know what show I'm talking about, y'all tell me in the comments. It's about the Black women in Atlanta on OWN Network, and it's premiering next Friday. Oh damn, J-Dub says Portia show isn't coming on tonight. Tragic. But anyway, I'll still be here next week. But I don't know the name of the show on OWN, but I'm definitely about to Ladies Who List. Thank you so much, April. Ladies Who List. That's coming on next Friday. I did take a look at Selling Tampa. I thought it was pretty good. So if Ladies Who List is better than this, we're gonna be reviewing it. We're gonna be talking about it, okay? So y'all be sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Here goes all my social media. It's the same. It's Necey Dixon everywhere, y'all. So be sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And